What is the difference between wholesaling and flipping? I hear you say a lot that you take title and then sell. Is that part of wholesaling? I would imagine that as soon as you take title and do any improvements, i.e. put money in the property, that it then becomes flipping. Is that correct? Well, let's go over the 5 basic types of real estate investing. There is assigning. So that means you're going to sign a contract with the seller at a reduced value off of a future value. So most of the time, assigners, they look at ARV times 70% minus repairs. They then sell that personal property. It's not the real property. Real property is real estate. They sell personal property, the piece of paper that the contract is written on, to another investor who's going to then take it, most likely rehab it, fix it, and then ultimately sell it for ARV after repair value, or keep it as a passive income, but most likely they're going to flip. The contract that they sell is going to be for a portion of the profit that could be arrived at. So let's assume for a second that the end investor that's going to fix it and flip it is going to make 50 grand. It's not unheard of for the investor in a scenario like that to make $5,000. They get paid that $5,000 at the close of the purchase. Now, in some states, you're very much limited on the number of transactions you can assign in a year. And you'll want to confirm with your state what those guidelines are. We're never owning the property. The guidelines are set in place so that folks don't act as real estate professionals without a license. So if there's a licensee attached to an assignment contract, perfectly fine. But most investors who are assigners are not licensees. The second type, wholesaling. So a lot of folks get assigning and wholesaling mixed up. Wholesaling is going to take the same formula of the ARV times 70% minus repairs. They're going to go ahead and buy the property, close escrow, or close the closing if you're in a closing state. And then they're going to sell that property to another investor for less than it's worth, i.e. the phrase or word wholesale. Now, this is perfectly legal. You can do this as many times as you want. You buy a house, sell it all you want. Thank goodness we don't have rules that say we can't buy and sell property. Wholesaling is buying a property at a reduced value. It's a different formula. Now, I like the formula that I like anyway, is I never want to base anything off of ARV. I want to go down to as is value and look at that number. So what I do is I end up going, what's the ARV? What are the repairs? So I'm going to take 2 times the repairs, unless the repairs are over $10,000. And then I'm going to take the repair value, and then however many months it takes me times 10,000. So let's assume for a second I have a house that needs $15,000 in work, and I can repair that house and bring it up to modern standards in a month, less than a month. So I'm going to go 15,000 repair cost plus 10,000. That's 25,000. I'm going to subtract that from my ARV to get my as is. Same scenario though. Let's assume for a second I need 15,000 in work, but it's going to take me between 1 and 2 months. Well, then I'm going to take the 2 months times 10,000, which is 20. I'm going to add the 15 to the 20, which is 35. And I'm going to subtract 35 from the ARV to get my as is. When I come to the value of the as is, I'm going to multiply that number typically by 65%. So if it's under 10,000, I'm going to do 2 times repairs minus ARV times 65%. If it's more than 10,000, I'm going to go repairs plus months times 10,000 minus ARV times 65%. Now the beauty, and then I'm going to put this property on the market instantly. I have the right to sell the property the moment I have it under contract. Where wholesaling and assigning, the multiple listing service doesn't really work for those folks, is because you're going to pay a listing agent 6%, and the listing selling sites 6%, and sometimes they're only making like 10%. So there's just not enough room to get a real estate agent involved. Well, in wholesaling, I'm going to instantly put it on the MLS. So I want a real estate agent involved Because remember, I'm buying it at 65% of as-is value. So I'm buying it 35% off. It's only going to cost me 6% to sell, so I'm making roughly 29%. I'm going to buy it, and I'm going to sell it. And I'm going to start selling it and offering it for sale the day I have it under contract. And then there's some terms, and we'll teach all this kind of stuff in the coaching program on how to do all this. But instead of making just 10% of the profit, I'm going to make all the profit except for the small fee to the real estate agent. So let's assume for a second I have a $100,000 house. The wholesaler or the assigner, they put it under contract for 70 grand. And they're going to either assign that contract or wholesale that house. So they're going to make somewhere around $3,000 profit, 10% of the 30 that's left over. Let's take my wholesaling scenario. It's worth 100, I'm buying it for 65. That leaves me with 35,000 left. The 100 I'm going to pay 6% commissions to. So now I'm going to be left with 29,000. So one way an investor makes 3,000 and one way an investor makes 29,000. And I can tell everybody that the work is in getting it under contract, learning how to market, learning how, what areas of town to market to that are going to be most successful for you, learning the negotiation skills it takes to get someone to sell you a house at 65 cents on the dollar, learning all of the walkthroughs and the repair cost estimates and all that kind of good stuff. But once we get under contract, a lot of the work, the hard work, the heavy lifting is done. And I sure wish people would learn how to do the rest of the work, because I tell you what, you're just throwing a lot of money away. So that's the third one. The fourth one is fix and flipping. So now, going to go back to this scenario. I'm going to get the house under contract just like a wholesaler would or an assigner would. And I'm going to do whatever it needs to be done to it to modernize it, to bring it up to current standards. And then which is the fixing part. And then I'm going to flip it later. The disadvantage here is all four are okay. I'm just saying the disadvantage here is that we can't start marketing it until we're done with the rehab. And then we know we have days on market as an average. And so now it's going to take us, let's assume for a second, it takes us 45 days to rehab it. So I'm at Home Depot and I'm at Lowe's and I'm doing this and I'm doing that. And I've got all my money out at risk, and it's been 45 days, and now I can put a for sale sign in the front yard. I'm going to use a real estate professional most likely. But that cost and all that exposure is expensive for what little bit of gain you get on the backside by increasing the value because of the repairs. So that's why I like wholesaling over fix and flipping, because I just don't like going to Home Depot. Used to go to Home Depot every day. People could ask me, where's this and where's that, and I could tell them. Got a general building contractor's license. I've built 70 or so houses. I've, hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of rehabs. So I understand the rehab part of it, and that's a big portion of what we teach. But I just like wholesaling because I don't want to get my hands dirty anymore. Then the fifth way is the passive income, the buy and hold. So those 5 ways: assigning, wholesaling, fix and flip, passive income. So wholesaling is similar to wholesaling and similar to fix and flipping, except unlike fix and flipping, we're not fixing anything and we're making maximum gain. And unlike wholesaling, we're not selling it at a reduced value, and we're allowing the real estate agent buyer pool out there sell our house for us, because buyers think real estate agents are free. Let's face it. Everybody thinks real estate agents don't cost them anything. They put them in their car and they're driving around, showing them houses all day long. They don't realize that commission is part of the sales price. So, and I know it is. So I just want to use them to sell my houses. So that's the characteristics of it in those 4 terms.